Can we then take, is it you, Honorable Breitenbach, or Honorable Cameron?
I'm donating my time to Honourable Cameron.
Okay. So, Honorable Cameron is now 15 hours 30. You run until 16 hours if she donates her time to you. So it means only one person will speak. Yes. 15 minutes plus 15 minutes is 30 minutes. Your time has started.
Thank
That
you.
caucus must disband there.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, General. We've got a very strict chair today. General, just to get context, according to the new SAPS organizational structure, supply chain management now appears to fall under financial management services. Can you confirm whether SEM now reports directly to you as CFO, and what level this reporting line has been, what level has it been formalized?
As I indicated, Chair, on paragraph 10, that since May this year, a new organizational structure has been approved, and this amends the reporting lines of the division supply chain management directly to the CFO. It is my understanding that this particular organizational structure had to follow restructuring processes. There needed to be restructuring processes where all the relevant stakeholders will sit and then deal with this particular restructuring processes. I have not seen any real implementation to this end. Even for this year, I have signed a performance agreement with the National Commissioner that only has my responsibility. So I believe conversations and preparations in terms of full implementation of the structure are continuing, and then as soon as everything is finalized, then one will then embark on that particular process. But for this year, my performance agreement only has financial management responsibilities.
Thanks, General. General, in terms of the Divisional Commissioner for SEM, Lieutenant General Fani, would he then fall under your governance authority, or do they, and now this is after implementation, as you understand it, does SEM continue to operate with semi-autonomous discretion despite the restructuring?
We have asked those questions because myself and Lieutenant General Fani are the same rank. I have asked those questions precisely for purposes of dealing with issues that talks to performance management. Naturally, in a department, the same rank cannot report to another rank. So those are the issues that must still be outlined and sorted out by the Human Resource Department as well as OD. I've written to them to say, explain to me how do we then implement this if Lieutenant General Fani is still there and myself and Lieutenant General Fani are the same rank? How do we then deal with issues of performance management? Who signs performance agreement against who? Because other various policies in the organization will then talk about the divisional commissioner must do X. Now, if General Fani is there, is the divisional commissioner, and he reports to me, and we are the same rank, how do we then deal with the aspects of such other policies in this regard? So I've written to legal, I've written to OD, I've written to HR, because I need clarity. So that then when we implement this, we implement it and there are no legal comebacks and issues and grievances that will come. So I await with anticipation to get proper guidance in terms of those structures that are responsible for this. What do we do? Because myself and Lieutenant General Fani are on the same level.
Thanks, General. General, for the past decade, especially when you look at fruitless and wasteful expenditure or irregular expenditure, SEM operated as an autonomous, I'd like to call it a fiefdom, functioning parallel to PFMA controls. What concrete preventative measures have you introduced to stop SEM from bypassing internal audit? As we've seen with the findings regarding the Tembisa or the Medicare contract specifically, it was very clear that there were significant bypasses. And apart from bypassing internal audit also include legal services, risk management, and even your own financial controls.
This entire accountability ecosystem must function. It must work together. Hence, I indicated that we also see this when you look at the fraud and risk, fraud risk indicators, ethics risk indicators, that you then begin to understand that we have problems in the organization. So we bring all this accountability ecosystem together. We have conversations with the National Commissioner, hence we have working together with the Chief Risk Officer, put a proposal to the National Commissioner in terms of strengthening internal control system. And we have implemented or are implementing, though not fully, internal control unit within my space. And this is a unit that then monitors the issues of compliance, intervenes where there's a need to intervene in this regard. So we do work together. There are controls in place, Chair, in SAPS. The issue is override by people. And lack of consequence management, direct consequence management and accountability. So if we can sort out those issues and lead, and there's a tone at the top to say some of the things we are not supposed to tolerate as the SAPS leadership, I believe we will be able to deal with these particular issues. So we do work well with supply chain management. There are various forums. There's combined assurance forums. There is probity audits that the National Commissioner has introduced. We are supporting those processes to ensure that then we are able to can be proactive to pick up where there are gaps in the internal controls and we close those particular gaps. We do have a very effective risk management committee as well as audit committee. They keep us on our toes in terms of ensuring that we account for our actions in this regard. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, General. General, at the moment, and this is what we heard from the Auditor General just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, SAPS currently has almost 2.5 billion in investigated irregular expenditure, uninvestigated irregular expenditure, that has not been escalated to the relevant authority for finalization. Why has this not occurred? And what is the what timeline do you see or would you commit for to close these matters?
As I explained before, the history of this 2.4 billion that is lying on Part E of our annual report. If I'm correct, there's about 275 transactions lying there. The National Commissioner has instructed supply chain management to unpack and allocate these transactions to everyone so that then there is accountability. There has been efforts, Chair, where around 111 transactions were submitted to National Treasury as the condoning authority. Upon interrogation, it may appear that National Treasury returned some of those transactions because of other information that was missing. So if you send to the condoning authority, you need to ensure that there is compliance in terms of the National Treasury framework. You should have investigated, there should have been discipline, you should have confirmed that there was no fraud, there was no corruption and all those things, and there was value for money. So when we interrogate with supply chain management, what exactly is the hold up? Because there is a bit of a slow process in dealing with this. They indicate that about 111 of such transactions were submitted to the condoning authority, and some of them, around 73, were returned because the National Treasury could not confirm the issues surrounding value for money. So subsequently, we have then requested the National Commissioner to delegate me in writing so that I can support supply chain management. During September, we have had a very progressive meeting with National Treasury. There is a team there that is willing to support us. They've given us directions and guidance in terms of how to deal with this. However, the ones that would have been returned by National Treasury without condonement, this delegation then gives me the authority, gives the accounting officer the authority to remove these transactions from the books. However, it is not just going to be a remover. You need to ensure that there's compliance in terms of paragraph 5.6 of the National Treasury framework, where there is a confirmation that indeed value was achieved, services were rendered, there was no fraud, the department did not suffer losses, and the relevant person who caused this irregular expenditure was held to account. So we have started that process. To this end. By Friday, the first 50 files are coming to me to sit with supply chain management to ensure that then we embark on this process. If we can deal with this 111, there are others that are already en route, others are with National Treasury to then deal with this condonement. Once they are condoned, then you are able to remove them from the register. Of the 2.4 billion, it's about 4 transactions that constitute 64% that are lying there. One has been condoned by National Treasury, therefore it will be removed. There's 2 that has been submitted to National Treasury. We are awaiting a response in this regard. I think there is another one, the RT 69. That is a contract. That is a transversal contract that the department had committed and that they are participating in, and then ultimately they withdrew without following the rules and so on and so on, and we declared that particular action irregular. 7 million, if my memory serves me right. The National Commission has appointed an investigator to deal with the discipline part. And I suspect that by now that investigator should be done so that then we can unpack in terms of the disciplinary investigation who must be held accountable in this regard. So once we then deal with this 237 of RT69, then we would have dealt with the bulk of this. So the 4 transactions that constitutes 64% is actually 1.9 billion. If we can deal with this 4, we will see a movement in this. But we acknowledge the support that National Treasury is assisting us with. The team of General Fani is continuously engaging with National Treasury to ensure that then they assist us with those that we have submitted. I will be dealing with the ones that went to Treasury and Treasury did not condone them. So I will need to ensure that I support the accounting officer to deal with these things and we clean this part E that is lying on our annual report.
Okay, General, 1 or 2 more questions. Just in terms of this word accountability, when it comes to SEM specifically, and I keep referring to that because out of the 6 of the material irregularities found by the Auditor General, I think 4 of them were under SEM, if I'm not mistaken. Would you support the Auditor General issuing a certificate of debt against the Divisional Commissioner of Supply Chain?
Since the Audit Amendment Act, the Auditor General has raised 5 material irregularities in the department. The process allows the accounting officer to put actions. There are recommendations. The process allows the accounting officer to put action and to give feedback to the Auditor General. We are coordinating and supporting the accounting officer to give that feedback. I believe out of the 5, the accounting officer has up to so far been able to give sufficient feedback, of which Auditor General has been satisfied with such feedback. To this end, 1 material irregularity has been resolved. We are left with 4. Of the 4 that are left with, the accounting officer is required by AGSA to provide continuous feedback. They assess it, they give us feedback. Up to so far, they have been satisfied with the feedback that the accounting officer has given. And the 4 will then be monitored or followed up in the next new audit cycle in this regard. It is an area that we take seriously. We support the accounting officer and we ensure that those actions that were recommended by the AGSA to the accounting officer are implemented and implemented to the latter. In the event the accounting officer fails to implement those recommendations and there is no cooperation, the Audit Act empowers the AGSA then to issue the certificate of debt to the accounting officer. Up to so far, we have not arrived at that point where the accounting officer is not cooperating. He is cooperating, of course, with the support of all of us.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Chair. No more questions.
Honorable Cameron, have you asked all the questions you had on your list? Okay. Honorable Malema, your time starts now. It ends at 16 hours. Honorable Matthys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Lieutenant General. There have been 11 task teams. Well, as of now, there's 11 task teams. Have any of these task teams have had their financials audited, like as a task team rather than part of the bigger SAPS audit?
The allocation of these funds, as I indicated earlier this morning, is allocated to the National Operational Center, which is a unit within Program 2. So when Program 2 is audited, all expenses...
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you because I have a little time, right? Just individually. So if we go to the PKTT, is there a financial, has there ever been just an audited statement done by the AG for each of them? No. That's part of the bigger programs?
No, yeah.
Okay. Can you, as a CFO, do you have the mandate to request or have those individual budgets that have been allocated to these task teams or to any particular program audited independently by the AG in particular?
I can request, we do have a very effective internal audit. I can request if I suspect that there is...
Have you?
No, I have not.
Even now for the PKTT, after it has been all over the news, you haven't requested, at least I would have thought you would even go to the AG and say, AG, please, here's this document, please audit. I'm going to the ad hoc committee and probably to the commission.
I think in October, I would, in October I had, when I was hearing all these indications in terms of the PKTT and expenditures, I then appointed a brigadier to conduct a determination for me so that I also have an understanding as to what is going on in this regard.
Okay.
The brigadier,
I'm going to cut you off and I'm not being rude. I just wanted to know whether you went to the Auditor General rather than to do it internally.
No. Not the Auditor General. I just wanted
But do you have access to be able to do that also with the Medicare 2024? Because from what I understand, it's the audit process, you are doing it internally, the forensic audit.
Yes, the Auditor General has already looked into the Medicare 24.
Forensically, or it was just part of the overall?
It was part of the normal audit.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes,
so it wasn't audited by the Auditor General. Would you consider having that done independently, both for the PKTT, specifically since we have both an ad hoc committee and a commission set up? Would you consider approaching the Auditor General to audit this, also in line of not just the financial spending, but also the impact?
It's not a problem. If such a need arises, we could do that. I spoke earlier about the issue of the impact assessment, that we have already tasked our research unit to then conduct the impact assessment, but it will not be harm if we could request an independent assessment of such processes.
Okay. So you don't see a need at the moment?
At the moment, as I indicated, I had already identified an experienced official to do an assessment.
No, I'm saying outside of internally. I'm saying externally. You don't see the need at the moment to approach the Auditor General to do a forensic audit on both the Medicare 24 and the PKTT.
The Medicare 24, there is already a forensic investigation. The PKTT...
But it's not the AG.
Yeah, it's not the AG, but it is our forensic. We do have capacity in terms of our own forensic audit, and they do collaborate with AGSA where there is a need for them to collaborate. So the outcome of this particular report will then determine if there is a need for us to even go further in this regard. But we believe that the current investigation, because it's also running parallel with a criminal investigation, will be sufficient to unearth whatever gaps that would have happened, and it will empower us to then take steps in this regard.
Thank you, CFO. Paragraph 14 to 16, we have the breakdown and expenditure comparisons between the PKTT and a few other task teams. So would you agree that the interventions, such as the stabilization operations, there was the gang interventions, major deployments, the PKTT was actually not funded excessively in comparison with the others? Or did you just choose those ones because they were funded highly?
No, it was not funded extensively. Okay. We tried to compare apples with apples. When we look at this, it's within the same range.
So your concerns about so when you kept raising your concerns on the information notes when the request came in for the funding, Was it on the amount of money that was spent, or is it more in relation to the time? Because we were now, the period that the team was going on, we were going on to 5 years now. What was your concern?
My concern was that clearly this task team was established to deal with it was a temporary task team. It was established to deal with a specific problem, but this problem is not going away. It is not. Actually, it might even be bigger than we realize. Now, for us to be able to support this team, let's have a permanent team. And if you have it as a permanent standalone team, then you are able to resource it properly and you are able to budget for it properly, as opposed to not knowing whether it will exist in the next 3 months or not. So it was from a budget point of view in this regard. However, over the years, we have had fiscal challenges where we have seen our operational budget being reduced in this regard. So these are general concerns that one would raise in all areas of operations in the police, including these task teams, where you have cost containment measures or policies that are approved by the accounting officer, and everyone is expected to then comply to those cost containment policies to ensure that we prevent overspending or unauthorized expenditure to incur in the department. So these are not unusual. We always raise this to ensure that everyone accounts to the resources that are given to them, and we are able to account to taxpayers' monies.
Why do you think after 5 years the team wasn't set up to be permanent? What, in your opinion, why do you think the National Commissioner didn't move in that direction?
Perhaps the National Commissioner will be in a best position to respond to that. There is operational work and decisions that would have been taken as and when they evaluate from time to time, and they would have come to a conclusion to say this team must continue. So those perhaps in the operational space could shed more light in this particular regard. The concerns I raised was mainly from a budget point of view, because it then makes it a bit challenging if you operate a team in this particular model. But I believe there was work that was to be done, and decisions and evaluations and agreements would have been taken at operational level, having considered those issues, perhaps the intelligence issues from the project leader and so on and so on. So the National Commissioner, as well as the project leader and the head of operations, would perhaps be in a best position to can elaborate further in this regard.
Okay. And then just quickly, you speak about a work study report that you would have liked to be done. Do you know that there was another work study report that the minister was influenced by, the 2019 work study report that he said he used as one of the reasons for disbanding the PKTT? Are you aware of that work study report?
I'm aware of that work study report, and I believe I had signed or made comments within that work study report, and it was talking about enhancing capacity in terms of detective units and so on and so on. I'm aware of that report.
So why did you want another one? Was that one not efficient?
This one, for me, it was in particular on issues that are dealing with political killings in KwaZulu-Natal. Okay. So clearly there is a problem that is not going away. From a budget point of view, I can't be receiving applications every 2 months, every 3 months. Then it means we are not resourcing this team properly. In terms of decisions to say this work of the PKT team must then find expression in some units, that is the decision that is not taken by me. It is taken by the heads of crime detection. In this regard, it might be the Deputy National Commissioner working together with his management, and those decisions would then be taken by the National Commissioner in this regard. What I needed was stability for this team and to ensure that resources are given and there is accountability should those resources be not utilized effectively.
So in your view, the 2019 work study report that the minister used as one of his reasons to disband was inefficient to deal with the issue of political killings task team in particular?
Perhaps that the decision to then implement that work study would have been a decision that the minister would have discussed with the National Commissioner.
quickly, and on one of my favorite matters, we had Lieutenant General Fani here, and he explained in detail, SAPS procurement, which was a blow to an average South African's heads' minds. But SAPS outsources. You even outsource toilet paper. Like you outsource toilet paper. So in your experience as a CFO, and it's vast, do you agree that there's an over-reliant on outsourcing? And this is, number one, it leads to higher costs. Number two, we are sitting here because of tenders. It either leads to corruption, and then corruption obviously leads to murders. So given your experience, what in SAPS can be insourced, and we should be able to build capacity? We are spending ridiculous amounts of money, even starting with this Medicare 24. That is a permanent, it's a core service of SAPS. In your opinion, as a CFO, how much money would we be able to save? I know we're putting you on the spot here, but if we were able to build capacity of SAPS just to be able to provide that, we probably wouldn't even be sitting here today, and we wouldn't have someone sitting in prison and sitting here if this thing of tenders.
Building capacity in terms of issues of insourcing requires massive undertaking from a fiscal point of view, from hiring personnel that are capable of carrying out those activities. I believe strategies are there to be reviewed. If you have employed a specific strategy and it's not working out for you, as an accounting officer or executive management, there is nothing stopping you from time to time pausing and interrogating why is it that this particular model or strategy is not working for me, and taking different decisions. We have insourced before. Our securities are insourced, our cleaners are insourced, and previously they were run in terms of contracts. So it is possible as organizations and institutions from time to sit and pause. And in particular, linking all this to risk management and efficiencies in the processes. But it requires the will, it requires resources in this particular area, and capabilities that will then be in a position to can run with that you want to insource. As I indicate, insourcing has taken place before. We are insourcing our securities as well as our cleaners.
So all your security is insourced?
Yes.
Since when? Or has it always been that way?
It was outsourced prior to my arrival. I can't exactly remember the date when this insourcing did take place, but they are insourced.
So all the police stations, not just headquarters, all the police stations,
Yes.
it's all insourced. Cleaners?
Yes.
Oh, well done, SAPS. But can we also insource Medicare 2024? And toilet paper.
It is a conversation that perhaps the organization must begin to sit around the table and engage in this particular conversation. I would certainly participate in such a conversation.
Yeah, we need an EFF government for that. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Matthijs. Bangazita.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon, Lieutenant General. I don't have a lot of questions, but I just want to know where you got that money from to actually continue to fund the operations of the PKTT over a period of time when it was not budgeted for.
As I had indicated, after we receive our allocation from National Treasury, we embark on a massive process where we then apportion this allocation to cost centers. We do have a National Operation Coordination Center where we will allocate funding for various interventions in this regard. Within these financial constraints, then you embark on a reprioritization exercise. You will then look at the areas where you can save and ensure that there is money to support operations. So it is a continuous exercise that you do. You allocate, you identify priorities, operational priorities, you engage with the accounting officer, and you are able to can then support this. But of course, that means other priorities have to, because you do have competing priorities, you will then have other priorities at the back foot in this particular regard. So it is an exercise that we embark upon to ensure that the or the money that we have, we extend it to ensure that we do our work and we are able to support all the priorities as would have been approved.
Thank you, General. You consistently raised your concerns to the National Commissioner about the expenditure patterns of the PKTT, but you are conspicuously silent about other operations, special teams such as the illicit mining, which over a period of 2.5 years had actually, spent more than R1 billion. Why is that?
I raise concerns on almost all these interventions. You will see that on my annexures, there would be submissions made to the accounting officer where all these interventions would have been assessed in this regard. So for the purposes of this testimony, I was requested to focus on the PKTT. The illicit mining is a newly established intervention, as I indicated, and we appreciate that the CARA committee was able to approve these funds for us to be able to can intervene in provinces that are battling with this particular issue. So this is special funding that was earmarked and allocated from CARA funding to say, US law enforcement go and deal with issues of illicit mining in this particular regard. So this money is specifically for that. It is allocated for that, and we expect that it is managed and there is accountability in this regard. So it's earmarked for that particular specific operation, because when we applied, we said, CARA committee, we want to have interventions that will then assist us as law enforcement to deal with this problem that is troubling us across provinces. So approval was granted to say this funding is specific for this particular operation. If you want to depart and take this money, utilize it somewhere, you must go back to CARA committee to explain and to get approval in this regard.
Thank you, General. In your interaction with the National Commissioner over the budgetary issues as they affect the PKTT, you actually had always recommended that the PKTT should be deactivated. That's the word you used.
Not always, Chair.
But there are a number of times.
It's only once, Chair.
In your statement.
It's only once.
Okay, but you had actually called for the deactivation of the PKTT. And my concern is that somewhere in paragraph 13.14 of evidence, you are actually saying that when I made these comments, the comments that we have just been talking about, I was not briefed, nor was I aware of the work of the PKTT. How would you call for the deactivation of something whose work you are not familiar with?
In other provinces, Chair. The context that I want to give is that my comments were saying deactivate a temporary structure, put together a permanent structure, give it to General Mokwanazi in KZN, because it was, my understanding was that it was established to deal with the problems in KZN. It has since emerged that it is then, the scope has been extended. In those operational decisions, I am normally not called. It will be operational decisions where the project leader briefs the National Commissioner and those that are supposed to be briefed. So decisions will be taken to say this particular work of the PKTT extends beyond KwaZulu-Natal. They are now in other provinces. So where we differed with the National Commissioner was saying, this team cannot be localized in KwaZulu-Natal. Clearly, he knew the decisions that they had taken. Clearly, he knew the operational work that this team is dealing with in terms of the expansion of the scope. Those are the discussions that normally I would not be invited to such operational meetings, but I take cue and guidance from the office. I will make comments from a budget point of view and a planning point of view, but the operational decisions are the National Commissioner. I can't instruct the National Commissioner to say, close this team. It is not my decision. So clearly he knew that the work this team is doing well and the work goes beyond KwaZulu-Natal. This is why it cannot be localized in KwaZulu-Natal. So the ultimate decision maker is the National Commissioner. That is why when I raise concerns with the relevant managers, they will go back, they will convene themselves through the National Crime Combating Forum, evaluate this. They will sit and evaluate and take decisions and go and approach the National Commissioner to say, we have evaluated this. We believe that the crime threat still exists and this team must continue. And the National Commissioner will agree. They will put together a request for additional funding, which will come to me, and we will then interact with the National Commissioner and support the efforts in terms of crime fighting.
General, one of the reasons advanced by the minister when he was here, or even in his directive to disband the PKTT, was that it was a financial drain, which has caused a lot of pressure on the budget. And a point which was supported by even Meriti Haas, that this task team had actually outlived its usefulness, and therefore it must be disbanded. So I was just wondering what that in the context of your continued, concern about its spending pattern.
It was not.
What was your reaction when you heard on the 2nd of January
I want
that indeed it had actually been disbanded?
I want to put it on record that that concern was not continued. The comment was made once. And I had reasons, and I've explained the reasons throughout this testimony in terms of what was my reasoning for that. It was once. In terms of the testimony of the minister, I can confirm that the minister has never asked me about the PKTT budget, nor have he ever requested that I provide reports and analysis in terms of the task teams. Those are the conversations that I have with the National Commissioner as I report to the National Commissioner.
Of your statement, General, you are actually saying that you never had any interaction with the minister about the financial issues relating to the PKTT. Then I wonder where he got the information from to base his decision to actually disband, if it was not from the CFO of the organization.
I cannot vouch for that, Chair.
I'm not saying that it would have been wrong for you to share that information with the minister. I mean, the minister is the minister of the department. But you categorically actually said that you have never shared that information.
On the PKTT.
Thank you. Okay. When General Sbiya was here, he told us that Mr. Matlala is very familiar in the corridors of the SAPS, echelons there. Do you know, have you ever met Mr. Matlala?
I have never met Mr. Matlala. I do not know Mr. Matlala.
General Sbiya also went on to tell us that Mr. Matlala actually came to visit him in his office in the company of his lawyer to complain about the non-payment that was outstanding from SAPS. And I imagine that would actually be a matter that needed the attention of the CFO. Did you not meet Mr. Matlala on that particular
No.
day?
No, Chair.
Okay. Well, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. That's all I had for the General. Thank you, General.
Thank you.
Honorable Malema.
Just a quick follow-up, Chair, on the insourcing of security, because the CFO must remember she's under oath. She just answered that she has insourced all the securities everywhere, not only at office and cleaners. I just wanted to be sure about that because it doesn't look like that is the case.
I'm not aware of any tender or any project that has been undertaken by the department in relation to security services. I'm not aware. I'm aware that I do have securities that are on my payroll.
But I'm told that the KZN building, provincial office, is looked after by private security.
By?
Private security.
I'm not aware of that.
Thank you, Chair.